Americans usually don't lose money buying property in Mexico because of one giant mistake. They lose it in small parts of the process. A fee they didn't expect, a deposit they sent too early, a property they trusted too fast. And by the time they realize it, the money is already gone. So in this video, I'll show you where Americans most often lose money buying property in Mexico, and how to avoid those mistakes before you send any money. And this is important. Most Americans don't lose money because they did something crazy. They lose money because the dangerous parts of the process often look normal at first. That's what makes this expensive. So this video is not about fear. It's about knowing exactly where the money starts to disappear. The first place Americans lose money is before they ever send a payment. It starts when they choose a property based mostly on price or emotion instead of structure. Maybe the property looks like a great deal. Maybe the location feels exciting. Maybe someone tells them this won't last. But a property can look attractive and still be the wrong purchase. And if the buyer falls in love with the property before they understand the structure of the deal, that's often where the money risk begins. Because cheap is not the same as safe, and excitement is not the same as clarity. A lot of buyers think the main danger is obvious fraud, but often the bigger problem is something less dramatic. They move forward too fast before they fully understand what they're buying, how the deal is structured, and what the total cost of ownership really looks like. That's where small mistakes start turning into expensive ones. The second place Americans lose money is when they send money too early. This can happen with a reservation deposit, a holding payment, or any early transfer made before the process is fully clear. Now that doesn't mean every deposit is bad, but it does mean you should understand exactly what that money is for, who is receiving it, under what conditions it is refundable, and what happens if the deal changes. Because once money moves, your position gets weaker if the structure was never clear in the first place. And this is where many buyers get surprised. They think the risk starts later. But for many people, the money risk starts the moment they feel emotionally committed. The third place Americans lose money is in closing costs and transaction fees they never fully calculated. A lot of buyers focus on the purchase price, but the real number is bigger. Because in Mexico, you may also be dealing with closing costs, legal costs, bank trust costs in the restricted zone, and other transaction expenses that add up fast. And when buyers only prepare for the price of the property, everything else feels like a surprise. That's one of the fastest ways to feel like money is slipping away during the deal. And this is exactly why so many buyers get confused. Because if you don't understand how the buying process actually works, it becomes much easier to lose money inside the process. So if you haven't watched my step-by-step video yet, watch that video next too. Because that's the video that shows how Americans buy property in Mexico the safe way. The fourth place Americans lose money is after the purchase is already done. And this is one of the biggest surprises. Because some buyers think once they get the keys, the hard part is over. But ownership has its own costs. Maintenance, repairs, HOA fees, property management, utilities. And sometimes the property was affordable to buy, but more expensive to own than they expected. That's why some people don't lose money at closing. They lose it slowly after the deal. So what's the real pattern here? Americans usually don't lose money because Mexico is automatically unsafe. They lose money when they go into the process without enough structure, without enough clarity, and without a full picture of what the purchase really involves. That's why the safest buyers usually move more carefully, ask more questions, and understand the full process before they commit money. If you're an American thinking about buying property in Mexico, watch this video next. I'll show you how Americans actually buy property in Mexico, step by step, the safe way.